Welcome to the Insider series. This is all for musicians, emerging and creators. We're going to today focus on branding, digital marketing, fan engagement, monetization, and industry insights. So welcome. Tonight is giving you that access to the insider secrets, how to grow as an artist. I'm really, really excited to have Kycker on. This is a partnership that's been going on for a long time. Frank, the owner, has really supported Kycker. He gives an amazing deal to all LMS UK artists. You can upload your music to Spotify and Apple Music for free via the Backstage Pass. So Kycker have been brilliant with us, and we really want to support them. And today we have Victor coming on. Victor's going to go through all of his expertise, and we're going to get as much of that over to you. And that's really kind of the point of today, is to get as much information over to you as possible. We're going to steal it from Victor's brains and into our fantastic musicians in our community. So yeah, I think we're going to jump straight in, Victor. And first and foremost, can you introduce yourself to the lovely artist?
Yeah, so I am Victor. I work as artist development lead at Kycker. I worked as a producer and engineer. As you can see, I'm usually performing. One of the things that make me quite unique in terms of industry professionals, I guess, is the word is that I'm on the ground. So I'm in the studio every day. I've worked with a lot of artists, a lot of labels, producers, big, small, emerging, all of that kind of thing. So it means that I'm kind of seeing it on a day-to-day kind of situation. But I also manage an artist, and so then that helps you be seeing what's happening in the UK kind of thing.
Amazing, mate. It's really interesting to get an overview of where you're going and get some of this expertise over. So my first question is, how do artists stand out when every platform and streaming services seems so saturated at the moment?
I think it's your why is the first thing you need to ask yourself. I think it's very important to understand there is not one way to do this. And I think that's the biggest mistake everyone makes. They believe there is a magic bullet or blueprint. And if there is, the labels will be rinsing this every day. I've seen labels spend 500, 600 grand on an artist and literally make nothing. You get what I mean? There is no formula to this. You just got to figure out, I call it reverse engineering, figure out where you want to be at the end and work backwards. So, do you want to be a world touring artist? Then you don't need to focus on Spotify or any of this stuff. You need to focus on playing lives and doing something totally different. Do you want to be someone earning passive income from doing certain amount of streams? Then you need to look at, okay, how do I create a digital marketing funnel that this can just be passive in the background? You get what I mean? Do you want to be world famous and getting loads of sponsorships? Then you need to look at social media now to build your brand in that way. You get what I mean? There's so many different ways of doing this. It's just saying, where do I want to be at the end? How can I work backwards to figure that out?
That is amazing advice. And it is reverse engineering and going, right, this is where I want to go, and break this down into smaller bits to hit. And I never thought about it like that. It's really interesting. So talk to me. Do you think it's better for an artist to niche down or try to appeal to a wider audience?
I think marketing in this age and this generation, I'm speaking like I'm crazy old, but I presume most of your audience might be quite young. The new generation puts authenticity above everything else. So even though if you're gonna niche down, it has to be authentic. If you're gonna brand it wide, it has to be authentic. But the brilliant thing about the internet, and I'm always really telling people to understand how digital marketing works, is it's like when you're in uni, there's a section of the internet for everyone. You get what I mean? So whether you're the geeks, you're the creator kids, you get what I mean, you're the emos, whatever you are, whether you're into football, there's always a section, a uni that was for everyone. And it's the same thing with the internet. And like there's the sections on TikTok that's just dedicated to books. The section, you get what I mean, the section on TikTok that's dedicated to learning about animals. There's a section for every single person. So I would say be authentic, zero down first, because that's the only way you can really create a core fan base, and then try to work upwards that way. But at the same time, understanding the funnels is quite important as well. So if you look at it as a wide net casting, because that's another approach you could take. You could say, my aim is to create a wide net and then build this funnel to bring people down. So that way you don't have a niche necessarily. You're just saying, what can I do? What can I create that hits as many people as possible. And then I start bringing them down into a funnel. And then at the end of that funnel, I'm taking them into a community where I can engage them even more, kind of thing. So that, you know,
Mark, it's like me and you speak the same language, mate, because I've been saying this stuff for years. It's just nice to have someone say it back.
yeah, it's literally that. It's understanding that side of it. I do think the wide net casting really does work, but the problem a lot of people have is that they don't build the funnels prior. So, for example, you create a content, it goes viral, but you haven't built a funnel to convert those people. It's a wasted opportunity, and that's why people say, "Oh, it went viral, it didn't do anything." No, it's because you didn't build a funnel, kind of thing, to really bring them
People
down.
people want to feel part of a community, don't they? Like whether it's a Discord chat, an Instagram chat, WhatsApp, like make people feel part of that journey. And those pre-made funnels are so important.
Yeah.
You're really interesting to me, Victor, about like the why you do it and your niche and like how you want to be known. How much of yourself should you show versus just pushing your art and your songs?
I think it depends. Personally, as a manager, I always push my artists to show as much of themselves as possible. But at the same time, there is a duty of care that we have as managers and as people in the industry that the labels always forget is these are people's lives and this is their mental health on the table. And people always forget that. And sometimes being able to protect that side of yourself from being out there is the best way to protect your mental health. And I think that should always come first. So it's if you're someone that you're quite open anyway, yes, do that. If you're not, it is not worth the risk because the reward is not worth you losing yourself in that process. There is personas you can create. Don't forget, you as an artist doesn't necessarily mean they want to fall in love with this world you're creating. I think that's another thing people forget that you're creating a world. You're not necessarily just creating as Victor as an artist. You get what I mean? If I'm creating as my producer persona, which is Sonus, I can create a world for Sonus, and people can buy into that world. And that world, Sonus could have best friends, it could have kids. You get what I mean? You can create whatever. You could have dogs. Da, da, da. People will hit you up. Oh, how's your dog doing? Da, da, da. Like, you can create a world that people can buy into. There's not necessarily your personal world.
I love that. And it's such a clever perspective for people to start thinking about as well. Obviously, a lot of artists, they look at this industry and they think, my God, how can I make this my living? How can I make this a career? But I love your reverse engineering thought. Like there is a lot of money in the industry and a lot of ways to do it, whether it's sync, whether it's shows, whether it's merch, subscriptions. I want to know from yourself, what are the biggest income streams artists miss early on in their career?
Oof. I think I would say you need to look at it as a business. Most businesses will fail in the first year. So that's just the reality.
Yeah.
And when people hear that, they panic, but also it's understanding sometimes it's reinventing yourself a few times before you get it right. You get what I mean? You start out or something, but you need to reinvent yourself as an artist a few times sometimes before you get it right. So that's the first thing. Second thing is most business before they see any form of profit is 5 years. So why do you think you'll be different? You get what I mean? Like your business that, and once you understand that, you shouldn't be looking at any way of profit in the first 5 years because most business would never make profit in the first 5 years anyway, kind of thing. But then what you need to make sure is you have a way of holding yourself accountable in those 5 years. So I spent 100 grand on this. Where have I spent that? What's the return? How am I measuring the return? Is it worth investing more or should I go back to the books and reevaluate what I'm doing, kind of thing? So I think that's what you're doing. Once it starts getting to the third, fourth year, you now need to start saying, okay, where do I want to bring money in the most? I personally think at the moment, it is building an online community. That's where people are missing out the most. And I think that is the future. I think when AI fully gets in, it's going to decimate everything. Everything is going to change. You're creating content and you're struggling to create 5 content a week. AI can do 20 in a day, kind of thing. And people are going to consume that. But human beings will always want a human connection. And when they finish online, they're going to say, actually, I want somewhere where I can go and connect with someone for an hour or 2 hours. That's where your community becomes important. So whether you're using anything like Twitter live, where you're going live, you're using stuff like Chatter, you get what I mean? You're using stuff like Patreon, Discord, all of these places will kind of form a community for you to build. And then is how do you then sell things to them? I think again, this is where people are really going wrong. No one wants to buy a t-shirt with your name on it. That has no value to me. I'm buying it because, oh well. But if you're saying to me, actually, I'm gonna give you the stems to my track, That's worth £100 to me if I really love you. You get what I mean? And you don't have to be a big artist. If I just really, really fuck with you, £100 easily, I'll pay that. You know what I mean? And so it's stuff like that. It's saying actually there's only 20 versions of this version of this song as a remix that's ever gonna be released. And I'm gonna put it up and you can pay whatever you feel. And you'll be surprised how many people are willing to do that. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that over in Korea. We're seeing that in the K-pop world. It works kind of thing. And it's an incredible way to build revenue as an upcoming artist where you don't necessarily have to be famous. You can bring in a good £1,000 every month just by creating these digital assets or even physical assets that's actually worth something, not just a shirt that you've put your name on and you now you think, oh, no one's buying my merch. Why would I want to buy that? Like, you get what I mean?
Yeah, Victor, listen, like the people in this webinar right now, I hope you're taking notes and scrambling because for me, like I'm learning stuff here. And I feel like a lot of music marketing is about creating moments. And like you said, like I've seen some really fun, creative ways people have done things like merch. They've gone to charity shops, made a one of a kind, put their own embroidery and stitching on.
Yeah.
And that's of more value, especially if you love their music and want to talk about it. Like having that badge of honor almost that you love that artist, but as a name that no one knows or no one's connected with you, why would they care? You know, it's almost like a refreshing truth of right, let's put people through that funnel you spoke about of followers, engaged fans listening to music, and then people in your community. Because those super fans will fight for you. Like I've seen that, like they will bring all their friends and family, they'll buy every bit of merch. So I think my next question leads on to this, like how do you get your clients from turning social media attention into that real cash flow? What is the best way of putting them through that funnel?
I think again goes back to authenticity. You need to you need to have something that people can buy into, and I think sometimes you miss that first step because you focus so much on the music, you forget that the music, even if you're the best writer, and I've been in rooms with some of the best in the game, you get what I mean? The probability of you writing a hit every single time that it's going to connect with people every single time is very, very low. You get what I mean? But if people connect with you as a person, no matter what you bring out, they will buy because they invested in you. I call it the Stonzi effect. It's that you're invested in them winning. When they win, you feel like you've personally won in life.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? And I feel like that's what you need to do. And that can come through content. I think one of the main things, again, is building this world. But that has to start with your story. What's the story first? Once you figure out the story, start to build this world so people can want to come into this world. It's like if you're in a party and there's a cool room, and then you go into this party and you bring people into this room, but there's nothing in the room, they're gonna leave straight away.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? And but if you bring them into this room, there's drinks at the door, there's stuff, you get what I mean? There's cushions, there's all of this, there's all of this cool stuff. They're gonna go out and bring more people and say, yo, come and check this cool room.
They're taking pictures, they're putting on their socials.
Exactly. So it's about you creating the story and then creating this world, which is the room, so you can then funnel them into that room. The funnel is not necessarily the difficult part because so you want to start with a wide net. So let's say you're a rapper. You start off with just normal day-to-day life. What do you do in your day-to-day? What do you have for breakfast? What your interests? Are you into gymming? Are you into gaming? Da, 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 da. Do content around that. Use the algorithm of the platform. So trending sounds, carousel, da, 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 whatever. Now you're getting some traction. The next content needs to be something that is then giving them an insight into this world that you're a musician without saying I'm a musician. You get what I mean? So you vibing to a track, you doing a cover. You get what I mean? Covers underrated. They're the most incredible thing ever. Now you get what I mean? Find a track, something out of your genre, doing your genre. You get what I mean? Don't do the same verse and chorus. Do your verse, do their chorus. Do something interesting with it. Go live, tell them to send you words, write a song with them while you're live on TikTok, while you're live on it. You get what I mean? Now you're building this world. Then we go into the third funnel, which is now where you're showcasing your music. Again, we're not saying to people, this is my music, or come and buy my stuff. We're not selling to them. We're just showing them stuff. You get what I mean? So you're showing yourself in the studio, how you're recording the verse, you're showing mistakes and stuff you made in the studio. If you're someone that produces yourself, you're showing how you created the track, how you made the sims, how you mixed the drums, da 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 da. You're doing all of this stuff. And now people are then gonna come into the comments and say, hey, this is dope. What's this? Then you're creating another content that's then directing them to where they can find the stuff. You get what I mean? So now we've brought them from the wide net and we brought them slowly, slowly down to the end of this funnel. But then the mistake is most people are then going from the funnel and going straight to Spotify. 0.0017p. Why?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get an email, go into the comment, go into their DMs, send them into a WhatsApp group. That's what's valuable.
And people want, like you said, that human to human connection, that care, that desire. Mate, it's unbelievable some of the advice you're giving out here. I is lucky enough in this call. Get in the chat box. If you have questions you want to ask, maybe you just want to raise your hand and be brave enough to ask yourself, please do. This is my last question, and I've got a few of people that have DM'd me on Discord as well. So my last question, you've touched upon mental health a little bit. How can artists manage negative comments or trolls? Because I've seen it, and artists have maybe been put off of posting on socials because of negative comments in the past, and they've lost confidence, or maybe they're actually scaling and building this community and fan base, but then they get more and more negative comments. How would you advise an artist around that?
It's a difficult one because the artists I manage, has had that quite a few times. I'm quite brutal about it, to be honest with you. Like, and most people might not take this the right way, but my thing is I have done a lot worse for a lot less money. You're taking a chance on your life. You get what I mean? You get to do what most people, you more than less than 1% of the human population get to do what they love on their own terms. It's not gonna come easy. It's not gonna. You get what I mean? You're breaking the mold of what most people would never dare to do. Most people would rather work 45 years doing a job they absolutely hate than take a dare and chase their dream. That's what the comments are for. That's what the negativity is about, is because you're choosing to break the mold. So you just got to take it on as that and just be like, okay, this is my calling.
Just change the perspective on it.
Changes perspective. You get what I mean? But at the same time, there are practical things you can do. So now, for example, we do a thing where obviously he's getting really busy. He's getting literally more than 100 DMs a day that he has to engage with and connect with. Is setting shifts. So you have two phones, or you even go on your computer. You get what I mean? And one, you do a 9 to 12, and that's it. That's the shift done. You get what I mean? Because it's not healthy for you to wake up in the morning and you open your phone and you're just bombarded with negativity and comments and trolls and stuff. You're doing shifts. Once it's the end of the shift, you lock your phone off, kind of thing. And I feel like that helps to just being able to kind of, and you might say, actually, Saturday, Sunday, I'm not doing anything to do with socials. I'm gonna work on learning more songs or creating more. You know what I mean? Like, it is important, but it doesn't have to be obsessive to a point where it's detrimental, because if you're not the best version of yourself, you can't create the best music anyway. So you got to do everything to protect that side of yourself.
I love that. Just how like setting those boundaries and really sticking towards it. I feel like it's brilliant advice. My one's asked, what's the best type of content to create for your community?
I think it depends. I think it depends on your community. That's where you do a little bit of your research. What are people in your community consuming? So I would say create a burner account. So it doesn't mess up with your algorithm. Create a fake account. And then interact with what people in your community are interacting on, what they're loving, and you start to see the trends, whether that's the sound they're using, the aesthetics that it is, the text hook that they're using. And you get what I mean? And you start to see the things that people are engaging with and seems to be working, and then you can tweak that to what works for you.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. Dan has asked, any tips for building relationships with labels, radios, or managers?
Labels, am I allowed to swear?
You are. You are.
Labels are the fucking worst, man. But it's the game. The game is the game. Being the guy that's reliable is more important than anything. So, I mean, I was on holiday 2 weeks ago in Greece by the beach. Message came in, we need the stems. You got to be that guy that can get in the stems. That's why they're coming back. There are enough people that can do this a lot better than me. The only reason they keep coming back to me is because they know they can message me at 2 o'clock and I'll get everything to them. So I think you got to be the reliable guy, make enough noise and they will come looking. That's really it. Management and label. If you make enough noise, they will come looking. Gone are the days of, oh, can I show you my track? They're not interested. They want something already built. It's horrible and there's no artist development, but it's the reality of the game. They're not interested in building you. Build yourself, make enough noise, they'll come looking for you.
I love that. Farm your own fan base and they'll come
Yeah.
knocking to you. Don't go knocking to them. Amazing. Guys, before I keep going through all these questions, is anyone brave enough to put their cameras on and ask Victor a question straight up? I'm always impressed when people do. If not, we move to the next one. Okay, we'll move on. Right. So next one. What would you say is the best routine for an artist to have? Like what hours they put into content, music, family life? Is there a set strategy there?
I think it's gotta be what works for you, and it's based on your dynamics, kind of thing. As someone who's been through it, it comes at a price, and you gotta decide whether it's worth the price. I have lost a lot. I've lost pretty much 90% of my family. I've lost several relationships. I'm only starting to just build things again, but that was what I chose. Music was more important than anything, kind of thing. So but not everyone can live that life. So you got to decide what works for you, as in is this above everything else, or is it gonna be 40/20? You get what I mean? Like I can't really say. All I know is the music itself and the market in itself. The music is 20%.
Yeah.
Create great music, but only that is 20% of the game. The other 80% has to be about how do I sell this product.
I think a lot of things like I like to say to artists is everyone likes to give the round of applause and people do well and that tip of
Yeah.
the iceberg, but actually no one I've been on a diet recently trying to cut. No one's cheering me on for like having some plain
Exactly.
rice and chicken, are they? But they only see the end result.
Yeah.
And that's when you don't need the support or the cheering at
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
point. So I think a mentality thing is massive when it comes to that and just trying to be really positive, take those small wins and momentum and flow is a big thing. You keep mentioning the game. And I completely
Yeah.
agree. It is a game. The music industry is a game that you are playing. I massively, massively agree with that. Els asked, what's one overlooked strategy that consistently works?
Overload strategy that consistently works is actually having a strategy. You'll be surprised how most people, I can almost put my life on it, then more than 90 people in here do not have a strategy. They just put something out and hope it works. There's a strategist to it. There's a system to this. You get what I mean? It doesn't necessarily always going to work, but you already are a step ahead of everyone else if you have a system. So let's say, okay, next year you want to do 10 releases. How much is that going to cost? Okay, how much percentage are you going to put into production, into mixing, into mastering? How much are you going to do for film? Well, in terms of content, or you're going to do a music video? How much is going to digital ads? How much is going, you get what I mean? So that's that side of it. The second side of it then is, okay, every 6 weeks I'm dropping something. What's my funnel to make sure that everything works? So that I think is quite important. Before we drop any track. So for example, we've got a release coming up next week, Friday, actually. And we've already started running the funnels from 3 weeks ago. And the aim of that is by the end of last week, we already knew something was going to happen because we're casting the net so wide and one of them hit. And now I think that's done at 2 million views now. So now we'll start working it. And that's what we do every time. By the time you finish the release, run the release for 2, 3 weeks, go back to your wide net casting again, work down the funnel, get to the end of the funnel, go back to, you get what I mean? And you're just constantly just running that funnel and just fizzling it down. The percentage is very low. Like out of that million, you're probably going to get maybe 100 people. But by the end of the year, if you've done that several times, you've got yourself a good 1,000 very, very loyal fans.
Yeah, and that's what you need. A thousand fans spending £8.30 a month, 100 grand a year.
Yeah.
That's gig tickets, merch, subscriptions, sync deals. Absolutely. Victor, I feel like we're the same person, a different lifetime. I'm not gonna lie. Finn, what's a good way to convert online at slash social media fans into ticket sales, specifically targeting more local fans, as this can be tricky for me at the moment?
So I always say the one thing that people always skip is the local fans. If you want to target the online into local, it becomes quite difficult because the internet is such a wide net. I would say if you're already doing shows, go to those shows, film loads of stuff, and run funnel ads. So create what your ideal fan is, who that avatar is, find that avatar, make sure it's very, very specific, and then run ads that's targeting people like that, several ad sets in that area. It's going to be quite cheap because it's very, very localized. And that's probably the best way. But I think the most powerful way is just get yourself on covers. You get what I mean? Like find people that are doing gigs, get them to put you on and do the best fucking 2 songs you've ever done in your life.
Play it like it's Wembley.
Yeah, like you will be surprised how many people. And we had a show in Lithuania last week, and like we were able to sell because we have like specific type of kind of access pass that we sell kind of thing, and we're able to sell like 10 of those in a place we've never been before because the show we put on such a show, people were like, yeah, I'm invested in this. You get what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, that's probably the best way. Open anyone that you see is paying, message him. Can I open up for you? Can I do 5 minutes? You get what I mean?
Yeah. Mate, 100%. I completely agree. And I love the covers fact as well, because there's so many artists I've seen on play TikTok doom scrolling, and they've done like their own sound and genre, but their take on a song. And I've instantly loved it, instantly gone to find it. Then I'm listening to their whole kind of all of their songs.
Yeah.
It's that drawing, doesn't it? And then once
Yeah.
you're in, the music quality is there. You're going to stay around. Victor, you have been unbelievable. My head is expanding as we talk this whole time.
Thank you.
Guys, get on Kycker. Like, this is a company I've worked with for a very long time. They've got amazing people like Victor there, and that is why I trust them and work with them. Victor, if people have any questions after seeing this, they want to reach out to you, are they able to do that anywhere?
Yeah, man. Like my whole thing right now, like I said, I'm someone that's on the ground, and I believe that the universe is putting me in these places now to just really empower the next kind of forerunners of artists coming through. So hit me up on Instagram, hit us up. I think that's probably the best place to hit to get to me really. Instagram. And also with Kycker, like we do offer one-to-one consultations. So obviously this is more of a broad thing, but if you want to just do a more one-to-one consultation where that's about marketing, branding, anything like that, you can find it on our website. You can book one in as well. It's £60 for an hour, and again we'll be able to kind of go a bit more in depth and really just plan whether you want to plan your next release, you want to plan branding, you just have questions you're not sure about, stuff like that. We can definitely do as well. But just general questions and stuff, like literally just drop me a message on Instagram really.
Absolutely amazing. Guys, everyone that's listening, your music deserves to be heard. It's time to go and make it happen. Thank you so much for joining the Insider series. And guys, what do we say to Victor? Hopefully a big thank you.
Thank you for having me, man. It was really, really, really great to be here, and hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to do more stuff in the future. But yeah, like I said, any questions, anything like that, drop me a message on Insta, and I'll try my best to answer.
Victor, absolutely incredible. Everyone's saying a big thank you in the chat box. They're a little bit shy today, but guys, no, really appreciate it. What an amazing guest. Remember, we've got the networking night on the 21st of January in London, where you're going to meet managers, booking agents, and labels all under one roof. We need to pin Victor down, don't we, and get him there as well. But I'm sure we will at some point. Guys, have an amazing evening. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.